afternoon, everybody. My name is Dave Karger. I am the chief correspondent at Fandango. Thank you all so much for joining us at this press conference for Disconnect. A couple of housekeeping things. As you all probably know, this film opens on April 12th. And in the spirit of the film, if you guys wouldn't mind disconnecting, those of you who don't need your phones, please turn off your phones, except for the ones that are up here, because I guess you need them for work. I'm going to kick it off with a couple questions, but I really want to open it up to you all, make sure that you have time to ask the questions that you all need from the cast, and let me introduce them real quick. First of all, to my left, Max Thieriot, Jason Bateman, Alexander Skarsgård, and Paula Patton. Many congrats on this film. I saw it back in Toronto, and I've been actually thinking about it a lot since. It's one of these movies that doesn't leave your head, which I think is the best compliment you can pay it. But let me begin by asking all of you, your characters have really interesting, kind of intense moments. For each of you, was there one scene that, during the filming, kind of kept you up at night while you were thinking about whether it was going to be frightening or a little bit too scary to film it? What was the one that gave you shivers?
There are a couple of his scenes that kept me up all night. It's a creeper. That one's a creeper. Yeah. I don't get a chance to cry that often on film, so I was sort of hoping that talent would come my way that day, and I kind of cheated, I guess, and just started looking at my technology device, my iPhone, and started looking at pictures of my kids before I started doing a scene where I had to cry. So that was a good little trick that I found. That's my answer.
How about the rest of you?
We had a scene. Have you all seen the film?
Yes.
Okay, so there's my character is dealing with PTSD, and there's a scene that was very pivotal. There's a scene of the two of us in the car outside of Schumacher's house where they're clearly not connecting up until this point, but when they're on this road trip, something happens, and I think Derek, for the first time in like almost a decade, he's doing recon. He's on a mission, you know. He's finally doing something. He's not a paper-pushing grunt anymore. And something beautiful happens in that scene where Cindy sees that. And there's a moment where Derek talks about an incident back in Iraq where he's hanging out with his buddies and they're sitting in this vehicle. And for some reason, I think about that scene because it's that moment. Because Cindy just looks at him and she's like, he talks about it. And what I loved about the scene, the way it was written, and Henry and I talked a lot about it, was it really had no point. It's not a good story. It's not like, there was no punchline. It was just this moment in time where he was out there with his boys doing absolutely nothing. And in that, just hanging out, being bored, he felt that camaraderie. And for some reason, he felt that in this moment with Cindy sitting outside of Schumacher's house. Like he talked about it, and there was this moment where they, for the first time, actually see each other. And when Cindy's like, "You say something like you never talked about that" or something, and I don't know. To me, it could come across as an insignificant scene, but to me, it was one of the most important ones.
Paula.
Every scene keeps me up at night. You're talking about preparing, or were you talking about when we watched the film?
No, when you were preparing.
Preparing, gosh, I have to be honest. This film was so intense, and we were just smashed together every day, every hour of the day for 12 days, and it was so intense. And I don't know, I'm always anxious, so everything keeps me up at night. But I think that it's probably the end of the movie, and I don't want to give too much away, but it was understanding how, I guess sometimes that's the fun of it, is to be that scared and to not know what you're going to do and how it will play. But when Derek's character comes out and he has the gun, and how Cindy would deal with this, I was like, I don't know. It was really actually like the last thing we shot, wasn't it? That last day. It was pretty intense, and we did it a few times, and it turned out, I think, and you did a magnificent job. I think I worried about that scene a lot. It's always about wanting to tell the truth in those moments, and that's what Henry Alex was so great at, was setting up an environment for you to make sure that you were telling the truth. And sometimes when you have those really impactful, dramatic scenes, those are the ones that keep you up at night for me, because you want it to play, and you want it to be real, and you want it to be honest, and you don't want it to seem forced. And so you're scared to death, and you just hope it works out. But he was wonderful because he was never intrusive with the camera, and he always made sure that we were comfortable with what we were going to do, and the camera stayed back, and we never left until it felt right. But it worked, and thankfully I was able to sleep when it was done.
By the way, I'd be remiss if I didn't tell the audience here that Henry Alex Rubin, who you mentioned, the director of the film, really wanted to be here today. He's back in New York about to become a new father himself. So that's why he's not able to be with us. But Max, what about you? What was the scene that you were most nervous to shoot?
I don't know if it was one scene in specific, but I just remember starting out, like, going into it, I just wanted to achieve this comfort level, and because I think that's the thing about Kyle, is he's so comfortable in his own skin, and being nude basically on set all the time, and just trying to be as comfortable as someone who does webcamming really is, So I think that was kind of what I was constantly thinking about. Just so it came off as authentic as possible.
Before I open it up to the audience here, Jason, I would imagine that the excitement for you was to do something that was 100% dramatic, the crying scenes and all. Did you feel like it was a real fight for you to get this part? Did the filmmakers approach you and that just made you happy, or was this a battle for you?
I'm not sure how much of a fight it was. I can't imagine that I was first choice. You'd have to ask them, but I was just happy that it came to me. There wasn't an audition process, but I'm really privileged that they trusted me with it, because it's clearly something that is sort of kind of threading a needle with stuff like this, and you need people who know what they're doing, and they didn't really have a lot of reason to think that I could pull this off. So I'm just thankful that they trusted me. I'm lucky to be a part of it. It's a great movie.
Questions from the audience? Right here.
Question for Max. I loved how you played this character. I thought it was so interesting that there are moments when, there you are, and basically nothing with sex toys next to you, yet somehow he comes across as really kind of childlike in certain scenes. Can you talk about just striking that balance, when to make him more mature and when to make him more like a kid?
Yeah, it was kind of like a constant process that was going on throughout, and luckily had Henry there all along the way, and kind of met and talked to a few people who are in this business and who do this, and so it was kind of, you want to show, when you watch webcammers, they always have this the way that they're able to speak to everybody, and how confident they are, and how they're almost able to flip it on you and make you feel like you're weird for thinking that they're weird for what they do. So it's kind of a balance of that, and obviously, just because of the dynamic of the relationship, it was important that Kyle also seemed young, because it kind of really upped the stakes with he and Nina, and the ending. It made it all so much more like, what is the real reason, that she can't be with him, Yeah, I don't know. I think I did more research for this movie than any other. And because it was one of those things, like when I read it, it was so exciting because I've never seen a role like this, especially for somebody my age. And so when the opportunity kind of came it was like I wanted to do everything that I possibly could to make it as real as possible. I had to shave. I remember going in, and I was doing something else, and I had like a lot of facial hair at the time, and Henry was like, "Well, I don't know, he looks kind of old." You know, I was like, "This whole thing, like, I promise, I have a baby face underneath here." So it was like this constant kind of battle of like convincing, like, I can do this. You know, just give me a shot. But I mean, obviously, the material and everybody else who's in the film kind of, I mean, the film just comes together as like this awesome collaboration that I don't think has a weak point throughout. Like, I don't know. I mean,
So a lot of suspicious PayPal charges on your account?
a lot of suspicious, yeah. I mean, the research was yeah. I mean, pretty much a lot of porn, really. I mean, pretty much everything you'd expect from watching webcam sites and just watching them interact with people. You know, and I mean different walks of life, like young college kids, moms who are everybody's away and they're decided to webcam for a couple hours. I mean, like really interesting stuff, but just trying to take all that as a whole and understand how they communicate with their audience and their crowd, and how they keep them entertained and get them to go private.
So this film's all about reliance on technology and problems that it creates. Do you guys have any technology rules that you set at home, like no phones at the dinner table or anything like that?
I think I try to strike a balance. I mean, there's sometimes when you have to respond to something, but oftentimes I really like to hide it deep down in my purse, because I feel like emails and texts are like, can just ruin your day. You've ever been out with someone, they're like having a great time, and they look and like, oh, and I'm like, that element of surprise, I try to leave it out of my life. It gives me anxiety. But I've been so scared by all this like texting while driving, and God knows I've done it. But now I pull aside, and I still think it's illegal if your car's running to like text on the side of the road. But I do that because I'm like, if I ever hurt somebody or killed somebody, just saying, can you get some milk? I just don't know how I could live with myself. So that's like my new rule for myself. But in general, I just like to live my life, and I just find it sort of intrusive when it's like constantly there. Though we all know, like during the day, you got to keep up with things, you got to return emails. But there's a certain point in the day around like 7:30, 8, where I'm like, it's done. I don't want to look at it again. I'm definitely turning it off.
I want to hear the rest of your answers to the same question.
Yeah, and people with kids too. Do you have rules for your kids?
I'm a very lonely guy, so it's just me. I wish I had someone I could tell about phones.
I'll give you my wife and my 2 daughters, so I can spend more time.
Because I want to spend more time with myself.
It's cutting into my words with friends. I'm not a big. I don't really find a problem with technology or television or anything. I'm a product of it. I grew up watching TV. I don't think I'm too dumb or too crazy. I think a big responsibility falls on the parents to sort of, well, the kids can't watch The Wire, but there's great educational stuff for them to watch TV if it is TV time, or there's great apps on the iPad that are interactive and educational, and so I'm not that parent. My wife a little bit more, so we try to sort of good cop bad cop it, but I don't really see a problem with it,
My mom always just told me don't use your phone at the table, so
Yeah.
I try and stick to that one as much as possible. But obviously, I mean, given this industry, it's like I feel like you're always so attached to your phone because you have to have emails and people calling you, and it's like, if you're not there, well, then you're in trouble. Why didn't you answer the phone? We need to, we have something really important to talk about. But yeah, I mean, if I'm at dinner with somebody, then I try and at least stick to the basics of leaving the phone away and, just have a conversation with the person I'm with.
Some people put all their phones in a pile on the table at the beginning of a dinner, and the person who reaches in for their phone has to pay for the dinner.
That's a good idea. That's a good one. That's nice.
Okay, question right here.
Hi. How much do you all disconnect from what's written about you on the web? You know, before it was, you know, you could just not buy People magazine, you could just not buy the Inquirer. Now you're at home, you're checking email. What if you get a Google alert with your name? How much do you look at that and say enough is enough?
I don't get Google alerts.
Okay.
I follow these guys, but I stay away from mine. No, I think that's a way of, like, I don't want to know. I mean, and you know, I think it's I'm not very active on social media. That's an understatement. I'm not on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or anything like that. And it's I think it's wonderful that they're out there and they're fantastic. And you know, I have a lot of siblings and friends that use it, and it's great for them. But you're absolutely right. It's such a connected world, and when I'm on a plane, people know where I'm going before I even know where I'm going, kind of thing. It's like you land where, like, you know, people know where you had lunch yesterday or who you had lunch with, and it's a way of keeping something private in your life, for me at least, is to kind of try to avoid sharing everything with everyone. And it's kind of like what you said. I think it's about no pun intended, but disconnect, to actually turn off your phone. When you go to your country house or if you go on vacation for a few days, I turn off my phone. I check it once a day. I turn it on. If it's an important message, I'll call back. Otherwise, it can wait. And, you know, I wouldn't be worried about, like, if, you know, with agents and managers and stuff, they'll learn to accept it. I'm gone for a couple of days. If it's important, leave a message. I'll call you back. If not, I'll be back next Tuesday. And for me, it's really important to have that, because it is life is crazy, and you travel, you're busy, there's so much going on, and it's important to have those moments where you can breathe and where you can actually just be present with the person or the people you're there with.
Anybody want to add to that?
I think it's a good way to get really depressed and drink too much if you look at yourself on the internet. I avoid it like the plague. Obviously, I've done it before, and that night has not ended well. And the rest of the week was not good either. And I hate myself because I'm really sensitive. And I only can see the negative comments, so I try to...
Because you read 19 comments out like, oh, Paula is so amazing, and then the 20th one is
She
like,
has man hands.
right, and what are you going to remember when you go to bed? Like, it's that one,
Oh my
you know?
gosh, just like...
Look at those beautiful hands.
They're not. They are man hands. I'm like, you know what? She's right. Yeah, so, but I do believe, though, that, you know what, you got to keep up with the times. I'm new to social media. I'm trying to find my comfort with it, because I feel like if you don't keep up with the times, then you get left behind, and you just need to, you know, this is what's happening. So, and I find that as an actor, I think it's really challenging, because what I love about films is being able to be completely transported when I watch a movie as an audience member. I don't really want to know all those details about an actor, because it ruins the movie for me. You know, that's sometimes why I love foreign films more than any, because I really, really get to escape. And so now this new thing, and like, what do you share? And then, is it still enjoyable for people to watch your films when they're going, she doesn't like that. She'd never do that. I mean, she hates that, whatever it is. It's, I'm finding my way. I'm not real comfortable with it yet, but I'm trying to go, okay, how can I find some peace with it? Post something, never look back, like send it to somebody else. Like, say this, take that picture out my window, whatever, and never look back at it. So I can, like, and, you know, be part of this age, because I don't know, and I listened to Alex, and I was like, damn it, somebody convinced me to do this, why did I do it? Anyways, but I'm just, I'm finding my way with it, and I'm just trying to hopefully find some kind of balance so that it doesn't get in the way of people enjoying your film still, and so you can always be different people.
No, and it's like, I don't want this to sound negative, or like we're so like, oh, internet is horrible. It's amazing. Like, I have friends that are very active, and they're saving the world. There's like, Kristen Bauer, a dear friend of mine, went to Africa to save elephants, and she got all her fans involved, and it's absolutely wonderful. So you can use it in a way that's actually really great. It doesn't have to be about like how amazing you are, or come watch my show, or come like look what I'm wearing today. Doesn't have to be narcissistic. That's what I'm saying. And also, to me, the film is not about. It's not a didactic film about how horrible the internet is, or like how evil the internet is, or how it ruined our lives. Our storyline had nothing to do with the internet. The problems that Cindy and Derek are going through are not related. I mean, it's not internet related. It's a guy with PTSD. They lost a kid. They can't really. He doesn't want to talk about it. That's the issue. The internet for them is just an escape, because it's complicated and it hurts and it's messy to actually sit down with your wife or your husband and talk about real issues. It's a lot easier to just open your computer and play poker. So that's what it is. It's an escape, but it's not it doesn't have to. That's not the cause of the root of the problem.
No, you're absolutely right, because with our storyline, she would go to a support group and she could meet a guy at a support group and cross those lines. It's just the film is really about human relationships, and in this new age, and it's a brand new world that we're living in that we didn't I don't know, maybe Max, but the rest of us probably didn't grow up with it.
No.
Do you know what I mean? So it's a brand new world, and it's trying to figure your way through it, and the relationships don't change. It's just the scene changes a little bit.
On this, yes, right back here.
Sorry, I didn't make you all.
No.
Your guys' movie deals a lot with control and losing control. How do you guys get your characters in that mind space to kind of crank between those two? Because all of the characters kind of experience both of those states.
Changing your mind space from moments of...
Control to loss of control. Kind of drastic ends
Yeah.
of it.
I don't know. I think what our job is as actors is just try to be as accurate and as mindful as possible of what the audience is going through and receiving and processing, and just try to pivot in time with them. And if it's a situation where the character should look a little out of control or do something a little bit stupid, then it's your job to act into that in a believable way, I guess, if I'm understanding your question correctly.
Yeah, I think so. And just to be as present in the scene that you're. I mean, just to continue with that, just to be as present in the scene that you're in, just to so that it becomes like a natural thing. I mean, if that's what the scene is, then you're just doing it. It's,
Yeah.
I saw for Derek the internet theft almost as a blessing in disguise. I think up until that point he has no control. He's conflicted because he's a warrior, he's a hero, and he was that, and now he's a paper pushing grunt, and there's so much guilt there and so much pride. He doesn't want to talk to anyone about it. He can't do that. So I think the moment of like you're talking about taking control is when this horrible thing happens. They get all their money, not that they have a lot, but the money they have stolen, and he's back. I think that's the moment where he's like taking control again. He's suddenly a Marine again. He's on a mission. He's going to do some serious reconnaissance here. He's going to track this guy down, and suddenly he's got a mission. And I think there's a spark. There's something happens that Cindy can see in his eyes that for the first time he's actually alive in a long time, right?
Absolutely. It's one of those things where sometimes the worst thing that can happen to you, you look back and you say, thank God for it. It made me stronger. Or for us, it brought us closer. It made us fall in love again and realize the material things were of little importance, but the love and the relationship was more valuable than anything.
So go ahead and steal people's identities online. It's really helpful.
They'll be better for it, stronger for it.
They'll thank you.
Here in the front.
Anything positive for you guys come out of these online connections? Maybe taking fame out of the equation? Is there something that you enjoy about the ability to connect to people, that you don't see every day?
I really like that. I mean, I can connect with so many more people throughout the day than I ever could with just a telephone. In fact, I can be on a telephone call and be emailing or texting somebody else as well. So, is, I don't know, I would imagine everyone appreciates that efficiency of communication. Again, I see it as a huge positive, and any of the obvious negatives are just another thing to navigate as a person. This generation's challenge, one of them. But there'll be another one for the next generation, and our parents had a different one before us. So I think the net is a huge positive, pun intended.
What else? Right here in the front.
My question for Alex. You had experience being soldiers, and you play like ex-soldier in this film. Is that experience help to play this character, understand more the PTSD or something?
Yeah, in a way, I think that's, the script is extremely well written and very intelligent and so relevant on so many levels. But I think the first time I read it, it felt very personal to me because of my own experience from being in the Navy in Sweden, and also when I did a show called Generation Kill, a miniseries a couple of years ago, that takes place in Iraq. It's you follow a platoon of recon Marines the first 5 weeks of the invasion, and we shot that in Africa. It took about 7 months, and I got to know a lot of the recon Marines when I was out there. And when I read this, it just felt like Brad Colbert was the name of my character in Generation Kill, a guy, a real Marine who's alive. And when I read this felt like Derek could have been Brad's best friend. It could have been one of those guys. He probably was one of those guys that was out there, and who came home and who didn't get the treatment, the help that he deserved and needed. And there is a lot of pride. These are proud men, and they're warriors, and they come home and they felt like, I've survived 3 wars. Come on, like, I'm not going to go to a shrink and talk about my issues. It's a problem because they're not getting that help, but some of them, in Derek's case, he's not opening up either. He doesn't talk about it. So that's why it felt very personal in a way, that because I know a lot of guys that are enlisted.
How about yourself? Do you talk? You're a talkable person about this stuff, or you're more?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I was in a unit that it's part of the Swedish Navy, but it's more kind of I'm not going to go into details, but it's part of the Navy in Sweden. I did not come home with a lot of PTSD, you know. We're not fighting 16 wars, so like it was a very intense experience, but 200 years was the last time we were at war, so I don't carry that burden, that load that Derek is carrying around, you know. Yeah.
Right here.
We've talked about some of the positives and negatives of the internet, but would any of you have any online habits you'd like to share that are just, could just be counted as entertaining diversions or hobbies for you?
Or educational. You go to Jeffrey's site and you can learn quite a bit.
Words with friends, I understand. I already heard you mention.
I love Astrology Zone. I like to get my astrology. I like Pandora. It's a good way to I really like Pandora. What? No.
Yes, I want all that.
Pandora's good.
My son likes Math Monkey. That's a good one.
I love Math Monkey.
It's amazing.
That would be my choice.
No, yeah, you gotta really test your knowledge. Netflix. I love Netflix. Sorry, I sound like a sponsor for them, but I freaking. What are you?
It's good. No, I know. I'm just thinking about.
And then there's porn.
Math Monkey and porn.
We try to make sure it's on the same iPod.
Yeah.
After 7 iPad.
Anything to add this side of the table?
The porn pretty much happens to me.
Let's be honest.
I did mine.
You did. Okay.
So going back to what you said, Jason, about all the positives of the net, do you think we'll ever rebel as a society against social media? Do you think that, I know there's a lot of great things, you can keep in touch with people while you're on the phone, things like that, but do you think that in some sense for the everyday Joe that it'll become too much to have their coworkers know certain things about them that maybe they didn't ask for?
I don't think so. I just don't think you can keep the genie in the bottle. I mean, people want to communicate. We're that's what our species does, and this is just a more efficient way to do it. And you can motivate a bunch of people to stand up against oppression, and free a whole country with it. I mean, it's like, this is fantastic. So if some people are going to abuse freedoms, I mean, we see it with gun control sometimes, then it's gonna put it on the front page of papers, and some people are going to say put it away. But it's the whole thing about one bad apple. We shouldn't ruin it all. So people are going to abuse freedoms, but that's part of its fabric, and it falls on us as parents or whomever to help people through those instincts and try to keep it positive.
For Alexander and Paula, the director was saying that he kind of challenged you guys in that scene in the car to make each other laugh with silly porn titles. I was curious if you remembered any of the ones you came up with that weren't used.
It was in the hotel room. First.
Was it
not
Shaving
Alex,
Private Ryan?
Shaving.
Saving Ryan's Private.
Shaving Private Ryan.
Oh my God, that was a wild one.
What else was there?
Sperms in a Dairy.
Sperms from a Dairy. Well, that made it.
That was-
Sperms from a Dairy, that's one of the film, right?
I'm gonna let Jade handle it. I have a bad memory, really bad.
We'll see about that.
We just went on a rant that reveals too much about my personality.
You can put it on Twitter later.
I don't think I will. That's
But we
my
both sat the
personality.
night before that scene in our hotel rooms, like Google all porn titles.
And that was our excuse to
Yeah.
do that. Yeah.
And of course we had to watch them all.
Make sure we knew what it was about.
Diligent actors.
Was it fun for you guys to play a couple, and do you have any fun memories from the set you can share?
Well, we weren't having fun, but it was a very enjoyable experience. And it's nice when you don't know anybody, when you don't know someone, and you just suddenly thrust together. It's exciting and scary, and you don't know if it's going to work, and they're already going through turmoil with one another. But somehow, to me, I don't know, did it click for you?
Like,
It was. It clicked, it worked, and it felt really natural and really
the
honest.
first day at lunch when you knocked on my door in Yonkers.
I wanted to have sex with him, he didn't want to have sex with me, it was tough.
Paula, you remember that in Yonkers when you knocked on my door at lunch and you came in with, Paula found this amazing Jamaican restaurant around the corner from where we were shooting up in Yonkers, and you came with a beautiful little plate of food, and I was like, oh, Paula. And then you did that every day. She came with delicious food.
It was just tough because he was constantly rejecting me in the movie. It was rough, but I got over it.
But also, I think when you're shooting something there are moments. It's not all heavy, but there are definitely some intense moments. You need to kind of laugh in between takes.
Oh,
you need to have fun. That's the only
rain.
way to survive, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah. So we did have fun, like eating Jamaican food together, or
Yeah.
like going to and from set, or between setups and stuff. It's otherwise you're completely consumed, and to me that's very important.
Yes.
Thank you. This movie touches upon a really important issue that's happening right now, which is cyberbullying. And so for Paula and Jason, I know you both have children. What advice would you give them? I know your kids are super young, but how would you handle that, Jason?
I think it's my job to let her know what the functionality of a lot of this stuff is and what the ramifications could be if she sends that text or that email or that picture. It can be disseminated, without any of her control whatsoever. So that would be something to look out for. And then after that, if she makes a mistake, she's gonna obviously learn a painful lesson. It's the hot stove theory, you can tell them till you're blue in the face it's hot, and then sometimes the best lesson is if they actually make the mistake. And so, I just don't think I'm going to be the kind of parent that sweats, putting my kid in a bubble and
Right.
never wanting to let them out. You try to prepare them for all the obstacles and hope they make the right decisions. And bullying is not something exclusive to the internet. I mean, that's
Right.
been around forever. So
No, it's just a different time. I know. I I didn't grow up in this era. I
Right.
mean, when we were bullied, it was like you're being pushed in a locker, or they stole your lunch, or whatever. Now it's just such a different way. It seems
It's
so
so
much more
public,
cruel.
that's the hard
Yeah,
part,
it's
you
so
know, and
public.
it didn't lead to people killing themselves because
Right.
of it. I think that that's the tough part.
Right.
But I think that Jason sounds like a great dad.
Right.
Wish I had that dad.
Yeah.
But you're right. All you can do is try to be a good parent and try to guide them, because this is the world we live in. It's not going to go anywhere. I feel for children today. I cannot imagine being in junior high school or high school and having it posted for everyone to see. Even your grandparents see it. They're like, I saw you doing what's I mean, it's just like, it's so crazy how public life is now. But you just have to learn how to deal with these things. Put one foot in front of the other and deal with it as it comes, and try to guide your child as best you can and pray.
Any final questions?
Yeah, this is for Jason and for Max, because you both represent two completely different generations. What's the takeaway for this film? And who should see it, or should anybody see it? No, you should see it. Is it a cautionary tale, or what is the message to each of your generations, which would be your takeaway, do you think?
Well, as Alex said, I don't think there was any sort of didactic effort here. This isn't some sort of public service announcement. I think that Hollywood's always looking for new baskets from which to write screenplays, whether they be dramatic or comedic. And I think technology is certainly not new, but there are some nice, interesting warts in it that make for good stories. This is one of those. But at the end of the day, it's about human interaction, which is what any movie is about. This is just a device, a tool through which we connect some stories and present some challenges to these people. So I don't think there's some huge lesson to learn, or at least not attempting to be taught. But I think everybody should see it. If you like a good movie, I think it's a great movie. It's certainly a lot better than a lot of the films that I've done, and certainly a lot more dramatic than the stuff that I've done. And so I appreciate that. I appreciate the way it looks. I think it was beautifully shot and scored, and it's just a great film.
Can I just add that it was so, I saw it for the first time up at Santa Barbara Film Festival a couple of months ago, and it's always horrible for me the first time I watch something I'm in, because you kind of dissect your own performance, and you're like, oh fuck, why did I do that? That was way too big, too much. But we met 10 minutes before we came in here for the first time. I'd never met these ruggedly handsome men before. And Andrea Riceborough is a dear friend of mine. I was wrapped before you guys even started your storyline. So it was so wonderful for the first time to watch a movie that I'm in, to be able to watch their stories as a member of the audience. I wasn't watching it as oh man, I remember that day. That was horrible. Why did I do that? Why did I do that? I could actually sit back and really enjoy it. And I thought those two storylines were amazing. And the fact that Henry is a first-time filmmaker is great narrative filmmaker. Crazy. The way he pulled it off with those, I thought it was phenomenal. And I think people should go see it, because Jason is a funny guy, but this is super serious, and he's amazing in it.
Thanks, Betty.
But it's really entertaining. It keeps you on the edge of your seat. You don't know how it's going to end.
Yeah.
I just have to say that. Take out all the other stuff. It's just fun to watch, and it's exciting, and it's a ride. And then if you can leave with whatever message you want. And I think Henry Alex Rubin, I love saying his full name, it was such a perfect choice to direct it, because like a documentarian, like a great documentarian, you're not meant to make a judgment, you're meant to present it. And I think that was so beautiful about the film. He doesn't make any statement. You are left to be an intelligent audience member and see it how you choose, and feel how you choose, and make your own judgment. It's up to you. There's no hammer on your head. So, for me, movies, first and foremost, are meant to be entertaining and meant to take you away. And this movie does. But the great ones actually make you think afterwards and hopefully change you a little bit.
I don't really have anything else to say. They pretty much just covered it on every aspect. I mean, I guess specifically for my generation, one thing that's really interesting is that it's even all these storylines. There's kind of something that you can relate to, and it just kind of makes you reflect and think about how connected I know I am and my generation, other generations are, but and how much we use technology and use the internet and how it really does play such a huge part of our lives, whether it be good or bad. But other than that, I mean, I think they covered all the reasons why you should see the movie.
And you don't have your shirt on for a while.
Yeah, and I worked out a lot.
Cut to the chase there, that's what it's about.
I dieted hard.
He's
for
so
this
hot.
On that note, thank you.
Thanks,
to the four of you
everybody.
for being
Thank
here.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day.